Hi, this is Morgan Cummins from TalentHub. We've found that over 60% of all the exports in e-commerce are now leaving the country, and we want to put together a platform called HUBTALKS to help do something about that. We hope you enjoy your evening tonight, so sit back, listen, and hopefully you'll learn something from this evening.
Within the Irish e-commerce ecosystem right now, there's lots of benefits that we can offer local customers particularly. So next day delivery is a huge advantage over some of our international competitors, and I think that we need to leverage that more.
The biggest strength in e-commerce right now is actually the ecosystem that has been put in place by the likes of Google and Facebook over the last 8 years. These two companies now employ close to 10,000 people, but what that has done is really upskill the local community in all things digital and e-commerce. What we're finding now is these people that have worked in Google and Facebook for a couple of years are more open to working in these startup e-commerce companies. So for me, it's the talent that's available right here on our doorsteps, which is the biggest strength.
I'd have a hard time thinking of any strengths, but I suppose being that it's a local market, we should be able to take some of the ground back off the UK retailers because we have the advantage of, same day delivery, things like that they potentially can't do.
The biggest strength of e-commerce in Ireland right now is that it's generally at its infancy, and we can learn quite a lot from work that we've done across Europe, the US, and some of our other counterparts in the industry.
I think we need to continually develop better products, better service propositions, and really focus on the needs of the customer to protect ourselves against that.
There's two challenges that I see facing the Irish economy from an e-commerce point of view right now. One is actually the infrastructure. So as you leave Dublin and go to some of the rural areas, the broadband connectivity is a major issue, and that needs to be addressed at government level. The second challenge is not enough boards and CEOs of companies evangelizing digital from the top down. From our experience, it's the companies that really cracking digital and e-commerce is where the CEO gets digital and filters that down through the whole company.
Yeah, I think the problem is we're just playing catch up. And the issue there is it takes time. It doesn't matter how much money or resources you throw at it. It takes time to build the correct infrastructure, to build a team that know what they're doing, and to gain experience, because it's one of those industries where you have to be really hands-on to kind of understand what you're doing.
There are two. I think one is the skills gap. They're quite numerous, and then the second one is that the supply chain is narrowing. So brands and manufacturers typically are trying to get closer to the customer and trying to go direct and outstep the retail, I guess.
Well, I think because there are actually very few indigenous Irish e-commerce businesses, so that means some of the core skills that you would need, like e-commerce merchandisers, content production teams, e-commerce SEOs, performance marketing, all of those core e-commerce skills are missing because there aren't that large number of retailers or pureplay.com businesses that people can move between and develop their skills.
Major skill gaps across the whole family of data analytics and website analytics. For 5 years, companies have been collecting great data, and now it's time to do something with that data. We would often have to recruit over in the United States, the UK, and as far as Australia for these types of positions. So that would be the biggest skills gap we're seeing right now.
Well, I think one of the things is that it's, e-commerce is a technology play aside from anything else. And the problem is that retailers don't really understand that. And so, they're not used to paying the kind of salaries that you need to pay people who potentially could be going to Facebook or Google. So the skill sets are there, maybe, but they're not going to pay enough. I think that's possibly one of the issues. So at the moment, it's a very small e-commerce pool of people who've actually done anything significant.
The first, I think, is that there's a general lack of knowledge about the industry itself. People aren't aware of what's involved in building an e-commerce business. The second, I would think, is that how do you trade that? So these are some of the core skills that we've been trying to learn for the last number of years. Digital marketing doesn't cover it all. I think there's some traditional retail skills that people are actually lacking. And we don't seem to have any kind of throughput coming through either. So we don't have the numbers coming through in the talent pool.
I think Irish e-commerce will be in a much better position in the next 5 years. There are a number of businesses, a number of indigenous retailers that are really developing out their e-commerce propositions. We're actually all focused on building those skills that we're missing, and developing customer propositions that are really innovative. I think the future's really bright for Irish e-commerce.
Well, we hope it'll get to the stage where you'll almost be able to swallow your mobile phone and it'll be embedded into your thinking and ecosystem, which really means I see AI as the biggest thing coming down the line, and that driven by machine learning as well. So you will be starting to get messages and advertising pushed to you when you want it and what you want in that time. To me, that is the magical moment when you're looking for that holiday away and you get served up the right ad. So that's where I see the future of e-commerce in 5 years' time.
Oh, I'd say we'll be a lot better, hopefully so, because, we are waking up, and because the silver lining about being so far behind is that we can leapfrog the technology, and the technology has really come on in leaps and bounds in the last few years, and so has the business model that allows you to buy that technology. So hopefully we've got a great entrepreneurial spirit here, and hopefully, we will catch up.
I think it's going to be better. I think the playing field is certainly getting leveler, more level, I should say, for people who want to engage in e-commerce. It's becoming more affordable. I think there's a greater sensibility about it now, and we're talking more and sharing statistics. And I think those benchmarking statistics will be key for us. I think the growth rate right now is about 12 to 13% per year. And we can increase on that right now. Companies are more willing to invest and engage and commit to e-commerce.
Well, I think in order to recapture some of that 4.5 billion euros that's leaving the Irish economy at the moment, I would suggest focusing on the points of differentiation that international e-commerce businesses can't focus on: next day delivery, click and collect, genuine service, and proposition innovation.
I think the one change is actually firstly to look at what percentage they're taking of a total percentage of their turnover and revenue, and then see with the investment of little over 50,000 what could be done to increase that share right now by getting the right people into their companies to advise them on how to do that.
Thing is that it's just they need to wake up and realize, if you recently I downloaded the business results for boohoo.com, and if you go to their website, it's all freely available. And for example, they would have almost 20% cost allowed for distribution, and that's basically they give free delivery, free returns. It's no question asked. It's built into their business model. I think that if we're going to really catch up, we've got to realize it's a different type of business model. You can make money from it, but don't be mean. You're going to have to offer an equal service to the UK suppliers who are coming in here.
I think it's to first of all understand the market that you're in and see where you can gain traction. A lot of the e-commerce I would have engaged in Ireland is very Dublin centric. We have quite a large population that exists all around the country that certainly feel from a local level that they're not getting the availability of products, services, and maybe have missed the boat a little bit in terms of opportunities for people to live and work in different areas. So I think it's understand your market and look to see where that niche exists. It doesn't always have to be in a far-flung country. We have quite a healthy population of people who like to engage in e-commerce. I think that's one big thing for 4 million people. If we're engaged, if we're losing 4.5 billion every year, that's a huge opportunity to see what is leaving the country and do we have that locally.